In the Old West, the decision about the legality of brothels was left to the local jurisdictions. According to historical records, this practice was widely accepted during that period. In order for women to manage their establishments, they simply needed to obtain licenses. In 1863, the Western frontier appeared as a territory full of possibilities and challenges. It was a vast region yet to be explored, where a multitude of dangers, including diseases, threatened those who ventured there in search of opportunities. In the history of mining in the Old West, dogs played a significant role. It was a common sight to spot hopeful miners on their journeys to the west, often accompanied by dogs, which would often ride alongside them on horseback. In the 19th century, especially in the 1800s, cowboys played a crucial role during the time of westward expansion in the United States. Although their roots can be traced back to Mexico, American cowboys developed a distinct lifestyle and reputation. Tom Horn was born in the year 1860, demonstrating exceptional hunting and shooting skills from childhood. Upon moving to the American West in the mid-1870s, he led a diverse life, engaging in various occupations such as a cowboy, miner, and army scout. Earth lodges were the predominant type of dwelling among the indigenous tribes of the Great Plains in Central and Northern America. The construction of earth lodges began in the 16th century and persisted until the era of Indian reservations. Until the latter part of the 19th century, the most commonly manufactured types of pianos in the United States were the square piano and the grand piano. It was only after the year 1870 that the production of upright pianos truly began to gain momentum. Without a doubt, the Old West is popularly portrayed as a setting of cowboys, saloons, and shootouts, but there was much more to it. In addition to the characteristic elements of that era, the presence of doctors was also crucial, playing a vital role in providing medical care to that pioneer community. In pre-Columbian North America, indigenous blankets played an essential role in the lives of native communities. These blankets were made from the skins of smaller animals and were also woven or sewn with wool, feathers, down, tree bark, and cotton. In the Old West, professional pawnbrokers played a significant role in the economic landscape of the western frontier. These entrepreneurs established businesses in all major trading centers, offering pawn and financing services to expeditionary companies and individuals seeking opportunities on the frontier. In the Old West, despite the absence of an official written code, there were a series of unwritten rules and principles that guided the conduct of the brave pioneers inhabiting the region. These informal rules were grounded in essential values such as hospitality, fair play, loyalty, and respect for the land. Such principles formed the foundation of coexistence and survival in the challenging environment of the Wild West. The Bloody Benders were a sinister and dark family of serial killers who, for a period of 1 year from 1871 to 1872, lived and operated an inn in Kansas. Although the fate of the Bender family was never fully uncovered, the Bloody Benders persist as legends, representing a real-life horror story. Gold panning emerged as one of the oldest and simplest practices used by pioneers in search of wealth in Coloma, California, in the year 1848. This primitive method of separating precious metal from impurities in the surrounding soil became a crucial activity for gold miners during the California Gold Rush. William Preston Longley, also known as Wild Bill Longley, was one of the most ruthless gunmen in the American West during his 27 years of life. His criminal career was marked by a succession of aliases and identities, reflecting his ability to elude authorities and his willingness to change his appearance and background to avoid capture. In the Old West, people's diet varied considerably depending on factors such as their socioeconomic status and geographical location. For isolated landowners, their food options were often limited to the resources available on their own lands. Indeed, tobacco played a tremendously significant role in the history and culture of Native Americans long before the arrival of Christopher Columbus, dating back over a millennium. This versatile and sacred plant was cultivated and revered by various indigenous tribes throughout the Americas. In the Old West, unique opportunities were presented, especially for women, who discovered a freedom and independence often denied in more established societies. Far from the constraints imposed by society in their homes, they could reinvent themselves and challenge traditional gender conventions. Throughout the history of the United States, various types of mines emerged all over the country from the early days of colonization. However, it was the mines of the American West that stood out as the most abundant and emblematic, leaving a fascinating legacy filled with romance, Fortunes gained and lost, extreme hardships, unchecked greed, and countless ghost towns. The Dunn Brothers, natives of Pawnee, Oklahoma, worked as part-time bounty hunters and full-time cattle rustlers. They gained notoriety for being involved in the deaths of two prominent members of the group known as the Wild Bunch, George Bitter Creek Newcomb and Charlie Pierce. In 1869, the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad in the United States aimed to connect densely populated areas in the east with equally populated regions in the west to facilitate trade. However, a dark aspect of this endeavor was that the construction of the railroad often disregarded the rights and interests of the indigenous peoples who inhabited these lands. In the year 1886, the photographer C.S. Fly received permission from the famous Apache leader Geronimo to take photographs. While he was busy capturing images of some young Apaches, Fly made a surprising discovery. One of the young Apaches was a white captive. This young captive, named Santiago, had been taken by the Apaches, and during the 6 months he lived among them, fully assimilated into the tribe's way of life, and even became fluent in their language. In the 19th century, traveling across the country was a daunting and challenging adventure. For those who aimed to reach the Pacific coast, a journey of about 2,000 miles awaited them, crossing vast deserts, facing exposure to the elements, rugged terrain, and a constant uncertainty about what they might encounter along the way. In the year 1850, a livery stable was an establishment where pioneers could rent horses, pairs of horses, carriages, and wagons for their transportation needs. These stables were often attached to hotels or inns, providing travelers with a convenient solution for their mobility requirements. In the 1860s, public education had not yet established itself as a stable and widely spread institution in the western frontier of the United States. The availability and quality of education varied considerably depending on the geographical location and the degree of value placed on education by the respective communities. In the 19th century, particularly during the gold rushes from the 1840s to the 1880s, the term wolfers emerged to designate a group of hunters specialized in wolves who operated in North America. During this time, many men ventured into the search for gold, facing the hardships and dangers of the unforgiving climate and wild landscapes.